Good morning. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and today I am titling this weather forecast update Stratus Season. Stratus season is here, and if you just look outside your window today, if you live in Southeast Virginia, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Take a look at the sky today, and you see these dull gray looking clouds, these nimbostratus clouds. And this, we talk about stratiform clouds. They typically occur across Southeast Virginia and the Mid-Atlantic as we get into fall and definitely in through winter. There'll be days where it'll just be really gray, the sky, and it'll be really gloomy and not even that bright outside. So we definitely have begun stratus season. A lot more stratus clouds have started with today's weather. So let's go ahead and get right into what's happening. We look at the infrared satellite image on the left and the current weather observations on the right as of 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That should be the 8th of October. So it is actually the 8th of October today. But in general, we have lower clouds. If you look at the satellite imagery, you see those duller, that gray feature, the gray coloration there on the image from Virginia extending down to North Carolina into South Carolina. You'll notice a dull gray appearance. Those indicate those stratiform or stratus clouds. And it's a really cool day today out there. We have a lot of rain, the light rain showers just kind of blowing on the wind. In between the rain showers, we have this mist that there's little tiny droplets just floating out there on the air currents. And so it's definitely a big change from yesterday's weather where we had partly sunny skies and a high temperature of 82 degrees. We are not going to get anywhere near 82 degrees today due to the extensive cloud cover and cooler north-northeast winds. We had a cold front that moved through the area, which it was great news to see that the roads were wet this morning. We definitely need some rainfall, and today was the first measurable day of rain, 2/100ths of an inch of rain, the first measurable day of rain in about, almost 4 weeks across Southeast Virginia. So very good to see that we had some measurable rain in the rain gauge this morning. In general, we got an explosive area of low pressure. You see that area, the brighter white color there in the bottom right-hand portion of the IR satellite image? That is associated with colder cloud top temperatures and much taller clouds. And there is an area of low pressure that's situated around that area. It's producing thunderstorms out over the waters of the western Atlantic, well to the east of Jacksonville, Florida. So we have generally a north-northeast winds. If you look at the image on the right, just generally north to northeast winds. They're pretty gusty at times, the winds. They extend all the way from Delaware down through Virginia into North Carolina now. Temperatures are generally in the lower to middle 60s across the area. Last check here at the Spot On Weather Studios was a temperature of about 68 degrees, and we do not expect much movement of that temperature today. So it's going to be a cool and kind of damp type day out there today. Here's the current analysis of what we have going on synoptically. The image on the left shows a lot of green shading, and that indicates rainfall. Now the heaviest rain will remain offshore, so we're not expecting the heaviest rain to move into the coastal areas. We will see these passing periods of showers throughout the day today, though, which will result in some light rainfall amounts. We have an area of low pressure that's situated off the Carolinas coast right now, and that area of low pressure will become the main low pressure area over time. We have a couple different distinct areas of low pressure. Those are going to merge and form one major storm system that's just going to sit and move very slowly northeastward up along and off the mid-Atlantic coast. There is a 1,027 millibar high situated over northern New York with a 1,010 millibar low situated east of Florida. So the gradient or that pressure difference between that high pressure to the north and that low pressure to the southeast is resulting in strong gusty north to northeast winds across Southeast Virginia today. So again, passing showers for the remainder of the day, remaining mostly cloudy. Most of the United States looks pretty dry outside of the Pacific Northwest, where there's a few showers and some higher elevation snows into Washington State today. The image on the right shows the vertical sounding of what the atmosphere looks like as we go higher up from the ground all the way up above 40,000 feet in elevation. Generally, we have a cool northeasterly wind closer to the surface, eventually becoming easterly at about 20 knots, generally about 5,000 feet, Shifting southwesterly 10,000 feet, 10 to 18,000 feet, the winds are actually out of the southwest above us today at those elevations, 10 to 18,000 feet. So we do have the sounding today. The red line again indicates temperature. The green line indicates dew point. Those lines are fairly close together, which indicates higher relative humidity and higher saturation levels in the atmosphere. We just have a very tiny pocket of drier air from about 10,000 to 20,000 feet above this lower cloud deck right now. But in general, it's very, very moist outside today. Let's move right into the forecast now. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen down the road. This forecast is valid 9 October, these particular images, valid 9 October 2019. Now the images on the left are going to be the actual surface pressure features as well as the precipitation, green being rain and blue being snow. And the image on the right of each slide I show will be your 500 millibar or 18,000 foot height anomalies. Blue shading indicating below normal heights and the magenta color indicating above normal heights. And generally blue lower than normal heights is indicative of colder than normal temperatures, below average temperatures and coolest air, and the magenta colors are indicative of above normal heights, and the warmest temperatures are above normal temperatures in general. Right, so the image on the left for tomorrow, Wednesday the 9th of October, shows a 1004 millibar low pressure system situated a couple hundred miles to the east of Virginia, and there's a lot of rain and a lot of wind that's going to be out over the open waters of the western Atlantic Ocean due to this particular cyclone. There's a lot of heavier rain north of the cyclone center, and it may actually get pretty good rain. They may actually get some pretty good rainfall amounts up into Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, parts of Long Island, and even into parts of New Jersey. And the wind will continue to remain strong from the north-northeast, which is basically from Massachusetts southward to the Virginia coast, along the eastern North Carolina coast. Generally tomorrow we're expecting more in the way of some occasional showers, light showers. We expect mostly cloudy skies to continue tomorrow as the atmosphere remains fairly saturated once again with that strong north-northeast wind off the water. There's an area of low pressure if you're traveling out west, especially up into the northwestern U.S. and northern plains. There's Arctic air. There's cold enough air up there that's producing there's a snowstorm going on expected tomorrow for Montana into northwestern North Dakota into Canada. So if you have travel plans going out that way towards Montana, pack your winter coats because you're going to need it. The image on the right shows generally what we have going on today for the height anomalies. In general, we're right around average of normal heights for this time of year, which is going to be indicative of more seasonable temperatures. But again, that blue shading out west, that indicates the coldest temperatures, the lowest height values, and we have a snowstorm, when you know it, in conjunction with those lowest height anomalies. Moving on now to the 10th of October. This will be Thursday, the 10th of October. The area of low pressure remains off the mid-Atlantic coast, and now it's down to 999 millibar central pressure, so a fairly strong system. Very strong winds between that 1032 millibar high over Nova Scotia and that 999 millibar low over the western Atlantic. So very, very strong winds up over Massachusetts into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and down into Long Island. Very breezy conditions from the northeast up in that part of the world. And in general, we're looking at a drying out here in southeast Virginia on Thursday as the winds become more northerly. And as that northerly wind blows, we'll notice a drop off in the surface dew points as well as some drying in the lower atmosphere. In general, there's a 1,002 millibar low situated over northeastern Kansas on Thursday, the 10th of October. Fairly intense, and that area of snow has shifted to the east from Montana now into the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, western Nebraska, into parts of the Colorado Rockies. So you're going to run into some rain in Missouri, Iowa, out ahead of that low pressure system up into Minnesota, but very wintry on the backside. Taking a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly for Thursday, the 10th of October, you'll notice a little bit of a ridging pattern setting up across the eastern U.S., but we're not expecting any major large-scale ridges to develop. So we're not expecting a major increase in temperature on Thursday. We still expect highs to be in the 70s here in southeast Virginia. Coldest air remains over Montana, extending down to Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, into the central U.S. Moving on now to Friday, the 11th of October, to end your work week. The area of low pressure remains over the western Atlantic, has weakened somewhat to 1,002 millibar central pressure. We do still have a lot of wind and rain up into New England and Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Very strong east-northeast winds at that time. Over southeast Virginia, expecting another dry day on Friday, the 11th of October. There is a frontal boundary that is extending southward from a 997 millibar low from northern Minnesota down over eastern Iowa into northeastern Missouri and into central Oklahoma. Much colder air behind the frontal boundary with northwesterly winds. And that area of snow has now shifted by Friday over to eastern North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, into western Minnesota. The height anomalies on the right show the darkest blue shading the much below normal heights for this time of year, and in conjunction with that, the much colder temperatures, well below normal averages for parts of Minnesota, the Dakotas, western Iowa, and in general, or southeast Virginia. We have slightly above normal heights, but not very drastic. So again, we're not expecting a major upper level ridge to build in here and create some summer-like heat at any time soon. Moving on now to Saturday, the 12th of October, 2019. The area of low pressure over the western Atlantic is slowly drifting east, slowly taking its time, but finally the winds begin to let up across New England, so that'll give them a nice break from all that wind and all that rain and that nasty weather up there. In general, we have a cold front that begins to approach southeast Virginia by Saturday evening, the 12th of October. There's some showers extending southward from Pennsylvania down to West Virginia into eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, but we don't expect a big rainmaker out of the system as the main energy remains closest to the jet stream and that area of low pressure at 994 millibars over northern Minnesota. So that's where the energy is. It's well removed, well to the northwest of southeast Virginia. Moving ahead now to Sunday, the 13th of October, area of high pressure, weak high pressure builds in over the top of southeast Virginia, producing a dry day. And we are expecting seasonable temperatures to continue. On Sunday, a fairly dry forecast across most of the United States on Sunday from coast to coast. There will be some scattered showers and rain and snow showers up over northern Minnesota, into northwestern Wisconsin, and into the upper peninsula of Michigan. But other than that, it's fairly dry across most of the area. You notice the cold front has now moved through between Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. That cold front has passed through southeast Virginia. High pressure is built over the top behind it, over the top of our area. Some scattered showers along the Carolina coast stretching south to the Gulf of Mexico. The height anomalies chart on the right shows the much below normal height, 500 millibar height values in the blue shading, and you'll notice there's again very chilly temperatures associated with these below normal height anomalies over the upper Midwest on Sunday. Moving ahead now to Monday the 14th of October. This is Columbus Day, and some folks have this day off as a holiday, so if you are having an extra day off this next weekend, fairly dry forecast from coast to coast across the United States, with the exception of some scattered showers over Lake Superior down into Lake Huron into southeastern Canada. There are some showers that move off the East Coast, but they're well off the coast over the waters of the Western Atlantic. And so it's fairly dry, and the height anomalies are close to average for southeast Virginia by Monday, on Columbus Day. So again, we expect seasonable temperatures. All right, now we move ahead a little bit to the height anomalies forecast for the 16th and 17th. This is next Wednesday and next Thursday, 16th and 17th of October 2019. And you'll notice the blue shading and how it pretty much stretches south from eastern Canada all the way down into parts of the Carolinas on both of these graphics. And that is association with a deepening trough or a dip in the jet stream carving out across the eastern U.S. And I'm going to talk about it at my summary at the end, but super typhoon out in the western Pacific, as it recurves and heads towards Alaska, it could very much result in higher heights in the western Canada, western U.S. area, and that could cause the jet stream to buckle across the Midwest to the eastern U.S., resulting in a period of chillier weather come 16 to 17 October. So it's something to keep an eye on. these height anomalies, you notice the blue shading stretching all the way down to the mid-Atlantic. So we could see some well below normal temperatures. We could see highs in the 60s with lows in the 50s on the 16th and 17th of October as that jet stream digs out a trough across the eastern U.S. Here's a quick update on the sea surface temperature departures. The orange and the red shadings indicate above normal temperatures in degrees Celsius. And you'll notice the Eastern Pacific has a lot of orange colors, and even the reds over into around the Aleutians, up into the Bering Sea. This area has been above normal quite a bit, the Eastern Pacific, so this is something to keep an eye on as we head into the winter season. I explained in my winter outlook how with the warmer than normal water temperatures, there could be a feedback between the ocean and the overlying atmosphere. And if that feedback occurs, we may see a upper level ridge set up shop across the Eastern Pacific during the winter months. And depending on the positioning, the exact positioning of that ridge, usually downstream of the ridge is a trough. And that would result in cooler and much stormier weather across the Midwest and Eastern U.S. for the winter. So this is something I'm keeping a close eye on along with the low solar activity and the ACE values. All right, so here's my final thoughts on today's forecast video. As I mentioned in the title slide, Stratus season has arrived. Stratus clouds are here. In the summertime, you get more of a cumuliform, puffy clouds in the sky where you get more vertical energy, more vertical transfer of energy with the heated ground, and the air rises vertically and forms those puffy cumulus clouds. But as we get towards fall and winter, we have more of a gradual uplifting motion of air masses, convergence of air masses, synoptic scale low pressure systems, and we get more of a stratiform type cloud, a layered like cloud, and we have that going on today. So we expect more synoptic scale lifting of air over much larger horizontal distances from this point forward as we go into fall and winter months. Pattern becomes more fall-like, and it already is starting that way today, with frequent upper air disturbances and a sagging polar front jet stream. You know, the polar front jet stream in September was well to the north along the U.S.-Canadian border, and we had a very warm September across the area, across the mid-Atlantic and the southeast Virginia. But things are now changing, and you can definitely see the transition season is in full bloom right now. All right, so we're looking at much cooler and windy weather today behind the cold front. That cold front passed through just prior to sunrise this morning with a wind shift from southeast, south-southeast to the northeast, north-northeast. So we have a strong pressure gradient that has set up between a strong Canadian high and low pressure off the coast to the southeast. And this is resulting in very strong winds. We could see wind gusts 25 to 30 miles per hour over the next couple days. Showery and cool weather today and Wednesday. Generally, rainfall amounts will be light. We're not expecting major downpours with this type of synoptic situation. We may see some showers moving in off the ocean from time to time. We've already seen this morning. I was out and about. The streets were pretty wet, and I could see the rain and the moisture just getting blown horizontally on the strong northeast winds, and that's typically really starts to happening in the fall here for the Hampton Roads area. Potential tide anomalies do exist Wednesday through Friday, and we could be looking at 1.5 to 2.5 feet above normal for the high tide for the tides at the high tidal cycles due to persistently strong north to northeast winds between Wednesday through Friday. We do expect that the winds will eventually lessen by Friday for sure as that area of low pressure finally moves away from the mid-Atlantic and the high pressure also kind of shifts further to the east. So the gradient will slacken when we get into Friday, but Wednesday through Friday we have very strong north-northeast winds that are going to persist through the high tidal cycles, and that could result in 1.5 to 2.5 feet above normal tides. We are expecting a drying out Thursday through Sunday. We're looking at seasonable temperatures with highs in the lower to middle 70s during the day and the upper 50s to lower 60s low temperatures at night. So it's looking great for the upcoming weekend, especially if you have the extra day off with Columbus Day. So get out there and enjoy it after we have this next couple days of kind of the gloomy weather. Much cooler air arrives between 15 and 18 October, and that's as that polar front jet stream carves out an amplified trough across the eastern U.S. And, again, this has to do with the recurving typhoon that's currently out there in the Pacific, the western Pacific Ocean. Typically what happens is once that typhoon gets caught up in the westerly winds, the jet stream westerly winds, it will eventually move towards Alaska, towards the Gulf of Alaska, and that typically results with recurring typhoons this time of year of higher heights, building heights across the western U.S. and western Canada, and a downstream lowering of heights or a trough developing across the Midwest to eastern U.S. So that is what we're expecting to happen, and most of the models are in agreement with this. I even looked at the ensembles, and they're all showing a similar pattern between 15 and 18 October, below normal heights at 500 millibars, along with cooler than normal temperatures. So it's something we'll keep an eye on. If the trough carves out as projected right now, with that dip in the jet stream, we may see highs only in the 60s. I'm estimating mid to upper 60s for Southeast Virginia, with lows in the lower to middle 50s. So it's going to definitely feel fall-like out there. We're getting to that time of year where you need to take a light coat when you head out the door in the morning. And, on sunny days, you could probably come out of wherever your place of employment is with no coat. But we're trying to get to that time of year. We got to start thinking about, the coats and the pants. Whether you got kids or you yourself, it's time to start thinking about planning a cooler weather and dressing appropriately for that as we get deeper into the month of October and definitely into November and December. So that wraps things up today at Spot On Weather. This is where you can find us: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as the Spot On Weather Weebly webpage. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Stay dry out there, and look forward to the upcoming weekend because the weather is looking great. All right, that wraps things up. Spot On Weather. If we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Have a great day, everybody.